Well, hello, wealthy women. It is Coach Tamara here. As you know, I always am here to inspire you, to have you know that you can go for your dreams and make them come true. And the best way to really know that is to listen to another beautiful success story by a woman who has done this herself and has achieved her dreams, is continuously achieving her dreams. And she's going to share a little bit about that journey, what she does, how she can help you, and then also just the success questions that we always do so that you can be inspired and know that you are not alone and to keep moving forward on your dreams. So, without further ado, I'm going to pass over the microphone. Please tell us who you are, what you do, how you help, where people can find you, and all the details.
Well, thank you so much, Tamara, for this opportunity, and for bringing this podcast to the world. So, my name is Michelle Rogers, and I have a coaching program. You can find me at theresiliencyblueprint.com, and it is a six-step process that I went through from, everyone has this tagline of survival to thriving. And I've actually done that through these six steps. I've created a book called The Resiliency Blueprint, and out of that has become the website and the women community and the coaching program that we offer. So, the Resiliency Blueprint and those six steps are awareness, safety, um, healing, empowerment, creativity, and then connection and community. And we walk you through those steps, and so that you can get from the whether you were or in an abusive relationship, what you've gone through with your family, your friends, where are you now to where you actually want to be. And I say want because we when we're in that state, when we're in that survival state, that's all we know as words. And words matter. So when we change the want to desire, we actually start manifesting. And a lot of what I have gone through and to get me through those steps were books and not necessarily mentors that I paid for, mentors that were in my mind. And it was a total change of mindset. So as we go through those steps and as we go through the coaching, uh, we get to those plateaus of, okay, what what is your decision now? You can stay here where it's comfortable because that's all you know, or you can break through the comfort and change your mindset and have that little piece of nugget so that you can then move forward. So that's what the coaching program is.
Wow, I love that. And what you're saying really about mindset being so much. Can you talk a little bit more about even how little shifts can start to create a whole new identity, a whole new path, a whole new possibility? And it doesn't have to be so overwhelming that anyone can go forward with just focused attention to some of the things that you're going to share with them and teach them.
Oh, absolutely. And in the first part of the six steps is awareness. Are you even aware of what's going on around you? What you feel stuck or you feel there's more, or, you want to get out of these situations. Are you even aware of what the situation is? So that's the first thing is the awareness. And that's where kind of mindset comes in. Then you have to make yourself, feel safe within your body. And the little shifts in your mind is I go back to a book that I've read multiple times, and it's the One Minute Millionaire, sorry. And it's by the authors of Chicken Soup for the Soul. And again, mindset. So you take a rubber band. Now, this is a hair tie, but you take a rubber band, and every single time that you say something negative about yourself, snap the rubber band. Every single time you say something negative about your situation, you snap the rubber band. Well, this is going to start hurting really fast.
Mm-hmm.
So it brings more awareness to the words that you're using because your self talk is is what is holding you, partly is what is holding you back. If you can't love yourself and in your own self-talk, how can you love and be fulfilled for other people? So that's the awareness, and that's the little mind shift. There's other little things as you go through. The universe is putting things in your path. All you have to do is be aware and then grab them. I had a conversation with someone. We were having dinner, and they were sharing about their story, and so a lot of the things resonated with what I was going through at the time. And they said two words. Well, actually they said three words. um what are your hopes and it's more than three words. What are your hopes and dreams, and how can we make that happen? Well, no one ever said to me, what are your hopes and dreams? Nobody cared, because they
Mhm.
always took from me. So this person sitting across was like, what are your hopes and dreams? I was like, I don't have hopes and dreams. I don't know what that is. And that actually made me go home and be like, hey, maybe I should write these down. What really are them? And just that like started a trajectory of then saying, oh, okay, what are goals? What do you mean I have to have goals? And then that started me reading a book. And then, oh, okay, now they said this. Let me check about that. So these such small things can make massive changes in not only your life, but in the people around you.
I love this. And I think it is so important too, because so often we get stuck in where we maybe got stuck in life, or we failed, or we think back with regret, if I could have done it over, or we're missing maybe something that was better in the past than in the present. And it's like you play that record over and over again, but no matter what, it's still the past. You cannot get back into that to change it. So the anchoring has to start where you are, where you want to go. That is what you have available. And I think it can be understandable where we play in our head, you know, not that our feelings aren't deserving, because they help us figure out what we don't want, what we do want. So I believe in feelings very much, but when we get stuck, which is understandable, and I think we give ourselves a little too much allowance to get stuck in the what was, what happened, what should have been, could have been, would have been, instead of like really like taking that ownership of, okay, and that forgiveness, maybe even of that was, but here we are, here I am. What do I want now? How do I move forward? Can you give people maybe a little bit of so that they have something right now, that if they feel like they're in that spiral of staying stuck in the sad story of regret, or blaming themselves, they didn't do something differently, whatever that might be, can you give them something that can bring them now, like into this moment, and have them kind of get that feeling of power and possibility for what lies ahead? Because I know that we all are guilty of being a little bit in that story for a while. Maybe it serves a purpose until we've had enough and it's time for change. Everything has a purpose, but the sooner we can get out of that and move forward, the better, because then we can create new success stories, so to speak. Yeah.
So, yes. So for me, it took a while. It wasn't one of these like, oh, I'm now out of it. So in my former relationships, they were very narcissistic. So we would have a conversation, or a party or something would happen, and oh, you should have, if you only did this, Michelle, then this wouldn't have happened, or you should have done this, where these people are telling me how I should have acted or how I should have not acted, and I would play that over and over and over, thinking that I was the problem, I'm wrong, instead of them taking responsibility or instead of them doing, whatever that situation was, it was always put back on me. And I had such low self-esteem because I had that for years. I grew up with that. I didn't know any different. So, there are moments in your life that there is the before the issue or the situation or the traumatic event, and there's the after of the traumatic event or the situation. And I've had multiple of those in my life. One of them, though, was, I was face down on the floor. My husband at the time was beating me. My kids were beating me. So much so that it brought back such a traumatic experience of many years ago when I was a child. My mother tried to kill me. So I had all of those, experiences and feelings kind of crashing down beside me. So I will say that if it wasn't for my community around me and some really strong female friends, to get me out of the situation, that again, that's a traumatic event where I never went back. I would have. I absolutely would have, because that's all that I knew. I didn't know any different. And I would constantly, that Rolodex in my head, oh, well, if I had said this or if I would have done that, they wouldn't have gotten mad at me. They wouldn't have done this. That, it was always my fault. So, a lot of what I had gone through then was therapy. I sought out therapists. I read books. I started to really believe in myself and know that my subconscious, I don't even know if you want to call it, my intuition, I started relying on that much more. And I started writing down, the conversations that we would have so that I was like, I'm not going crazy. I am, yes, this is going back in my head. And you know what? This isn't my fault. I couldn't have done anything different. I am who I am. Yes, maybe, I shouldn't have yelled at, the cashier. Even though I was having a bad day, I started taking responsibility for my emotions and my actions, instead of saying, oh, yeah, I just had a bad day. So, kick the dog kind of scenario. I was like, oh, no. And I started saying, I'm sorry. I started saying that I'm sorry to other people, not to the people that were making me feel like crap. You know, I started taking ownership of my own actions. And then I was like, oh, you know what? I know I couldn't have done anything different. I did everything that I knew that I had at the time, that I knew of at the time, and I had to make peace with that. And that's hard. This process and being human is not easy and simple and, oh, if I can wave a magic wand. It's you're two steps forward, one step back, or one step forward, two steps back. What does Madonna say? I think it's Madonna who sings that. Um, as long as you're moving forward,
Mhm.
that's the key. Continue to move forward, continue to take action. Because if you're not taking action, you're staying stuck. The other thing that quieted the squirrels, as I call them, the squirrels, people are living rent free. Someone said, "Oh, stop having them live rent free in your head." Yeah,
Yeah,
because I
I
can't
love
change
that
them. I
saying.
can't change what happened in the past. I can only move forward. And this is how I choose to continue to move forward.
I love that. And you said a couple of very important points. One is the fact that you had grace and self forgiveness. You only knew what you knew at the time and could only do what you could do at the time. And I love that. That is so important to not, you know, the forgiveness is everything for yourself. If you knew you could have done something different, you would have. This is the tool set we have at the time of whatever that is. The other thing that really stood out to me that's very important is in your journey of becoming self-responsible, like ownership of your choices, and when you maybe made a mistake, apologizing, owning it. This is not only one of the most growth filled ways of being in life, but what it also does is when you are able to say, oh, I take ownership of that, then you're realizing that, let's say, the narcissists that were in your path, you can then identify, like, wow, I'm taking ownership when I did this part wrong, and they have no ownership. And it makes a clear distinction
Yes.
that you are not on the same wavelength as them, and you're meant to be leaving that behind and moving forward. So it actually, that self responsibility serves two purposes: for your own self confidence, growth, forward movement, but also to make it so clear, like, wow, this is what self responsibility looks like. And they don't have any of that. Therefore, I know I'm not the one that's, thinking things that aren't
Mhm.
true. And now I can start to build that confidence in myself step by step. And the other thing that you said is having a network of women or anybody that are supportive and can help you realize there is a different type of world experience out there, and that you can work
Yes.
towards it. Absolutely, right? It's just, and we all have these moments in life, all of us, in some form or another. It will show up, and it's a very difficult thing. But if you can find the growth and build your own self up, and then you're desiring so much to help others that you can
Mhm.
recognize in that same situation, it is such a like loving gift of self and others that is healthy. And this is really, is this one of the biggest motivations for why you created this business for yourself, for others, that you want to help, because you can see things now clearly on the other side of it?
Yes, absolutely. And part of it is just telling my story. You know, not being afraid to have someone like you, Tamara, or somebody else, a girl that I'm helping right now, tell her story. Because when we shine a light on things, then we actually can see within ourselves, oh, okay, that didn't serve me. This is what I want to serve me. This is what where I can go with this. And just to see that blossom is just absolutely amazing. It is just absolutely amazing. And like I said before, community and the three women that literally I say they saved my life. They saved the trajectory of where I was going because, like I said, I would have gone back. I would have gone back, and I would have been another statistic. I would have been in a women's shelter. And these women, I laugh because I would cry, and you're like, oh, woe is me. And you're in that victim mentality. And they would sit there and they would listen. And then they would say, all right, you've cried, you've complained, you vented. Now put on your big girl panties and let's go. Like they would not let me wallow in that self pity. And many, many times, one of the women owns a yoga studio, and she was like, "You need to move your body." Each woman brought a different aspect of what I needed at the time in my life. One of them was put your big girl panties on, let's go. The other one was you need to move your body. And through that was spiritual and that transformation. And the other one was, financial, monetary, helping me get through the rest of my college, all of that. Each one served an amazing purpose to help me rise to where I needed to be and how now I can do that for other women.
I love this so much. It's exactly the most heartfelt, soulful work that we women can do, is find ways to be relatable, authentic, connected, inspiring to others, letting them see that there's possibilities for ones that need us to be the inspiration, but also so great to know that there's others in front of us in some regard that are inspiring us to pull us forward. And this like is this beautiful like full circle of support in the most spiritually beautiful, soulful way. And I am loving this. This is really women's empowerment. If you want to define women's empowerment, it is this: make yourself available to help someone in need, and then look for someone who can help you when you're in need, and just like keep the whole thing of moving forward, being
Mhm.
inspired, growing forward, learning, forgiving, not staying in the past, close the door, open a new one, and start fresh. You can always do that. So, okay, let's go ahead and get started with some success questions. I just had a sphere there where it said the internet connection was poor, but it looks okay again. So, hopefully, all is good. We're still recording. Anyway, you are a blessing to all, and your story is going to inspire and help so many. And, just keep moving forward with everything. And now on that, let's talk about some of the ways that you did move things forward. We'll maybe kind of make it specific to your business and business growth, because for me also, I want women to be so empowered financially. I'm a money coach. I'm also this person that's a visibility strategist, because you need visibility on your business so people can learn about you, so that you have that chance to get clients, make money, grow, be empowered. And this whole thing is so important. And so I'm always hoping women will either one, decide to build their own business, or continue on the path of growing their business, just because if you can be in a position of your own self empowerment, not only is that joyful with all the beautiful, joyful things and ways you can enjoy your life, but if you ever were, God forbid, to find yourself in a situation where you wanted to go, and you can because you have the resources, this is what is also so very important. And so, for all of you women, whatever your path is at the moment, whatever your journey is meant to be, you know, just be inspired by this. Just keep moving forward, grow that business, grow your income, grow your independence, build a beautiful relationship with others. All of this is good, but we need to be smart about it. And we need to listen to ourselves and trust ourselves and our intuitions, and we can't expect success overnight, and that's okay. But if you succeed a little bit every single day, you'll eventually get there. You will get there, and you will get clues and cues along the way of how you're supposed to go forward. So, okay, I'm going to get off my soapbox. Here we go.
So so to piggyback off that really quick, um, this book, The Resiliency Blueprint, and this business is fairly new. So to piggyback off what you were saying, that one person that I had spoke about said, what are your hopes and dreams? What do you want to do? And I had been a real estate agent many, many years ago when my son was just a baby. And I really loved the fact that fix and flippers were coming into areas, taking these dilapidated homes, fixing them up, and putting them for first time home buyers. So I had said to this person, I like real estate. Little did I know that I would buy my first property for $10,000. It was a condemned, dilapidated home in the city where I live. And we renovated that, and we actually put a woman with children. We rented it to her. We still have that to this day. And based on that, literally those questions, I have built a multi-million dollar real estate business, which then now has allowed me that independence to say, okay, what really is my passion?
Love.
What really started, what is it within me? Why do I want to even tell people about my story? So that's where the resiliency blueprint now has come into effect, where okay, I am giving back. I am telling that story. I am, we talk about that line, that string. Well, we're bringing everyone higher. I love that, the higher, with us. So, you know, you speak about, all right, let's get that financial independence. This business that I have now that we're talking about, the resiliency blueprint, isn't the business that I'm starting to get that financial independence. I already have that financial independence because of a few words that somebody asked me and I took action. So go ahead. I'm sorry to
No, I love this, and you know how much I am a big believer in real estate because we have talked about this on our first call. And so that is another thing. Um, however you women want to start to build up your wealth, start it, savings, Roth IRAs, real estate investments. Just build. Think of your life as building blocks, and you do not have to have the whole building completely understood. You don't need the entire blueprint. You just need to get started, and the
yes.
way will show up for you, and you will build your confidences as you go. And this is amazing because even if you didn't have the whole real estate thing, when you are so connected to your passion and your power and your purpose, wow, that sounds like a book. I should just came out of nowhere, but right? It's just like divinely led. But you will be you will be a success with this because your whole heart is in it and you're trying to help and you have all of the right intentions in there. But how amazing also that you can look back on how something served you so well that it opened up the gates of freedom,
Mhm.
which is what, to be honest with you, most women aspire more to freedom than necessarily the so-called money, but the money is the freedom. So it's kind of like,
Right.
but the real desire is that freedom, freedom of choice, freedom of opportunities, freedom to make decisions, and freedom to bring in the joys of life, to help others. There's so much goodness with being an empowered woman. So I'm so for it. That's why I'm here, right? Okay, let's get on with some of the business questions, and you can please go ahead if you want to bring in your real estate um, focus as well, because that's, regardless, these are foundational pieces that help you build your real estate business. It's
Mhm.
going to help you build out this whole newer business that you have. So I think that the feeling for you will be the same regardless. So on that note, then, what is your number one professional tip for women to grow their businesses?
So I have three. So it's no excuses, take action,
Mhm.
and always be learning.
Oh, that's it. Okay. Interview over. Bye. No, I'm only kidding. That's it. That's so perfect. That's everything. Okay. What is your big vision for your business? This new
So
business.
okay, so we talk about vision for the businesses.
Mhm.
I actually have a vision for life. Uh,
Oh.
and how I get to that vision of my life is going to be throughout the businesses. Wherever that path meanders and however we get there is how we get there. Um, so my husband and I, we are resource parents for a developmentally disabled little child. And we are going through the adoption process. It is unfortunate that he is not able to be reunified. So instead of him languishing through the foster program, we are going to be adopting. So with that said, uh, Christian Bale, I think it's Bale, Bale, in California, is doing this community for foster children to live. So I was like, oh, that would be a fantastic opportunity. Why don't we do it for developmentally disabled and autistic children? Because we want we want our children to outlive us. We don't want to outlive our children, right? So a lot of individuals, families, couples cannot afford and do not have the means for once they pass for their children who, are special needs to be taken care of. Whether they're going to be put in institutionalized or in special homes or whatever, they just don't have those means. So what we are creating is about 50 to 100 acres of a community where these individuals can live, they can work, they have independence. The medical their medical needs are met within this community, and they live. So that is our ultimate goal. It is going to be called OK Ranch, kind of named after our little man, and ours because our last name's Rogers. So kind of ranch went went through it. Uh, and that's the ultimate goal that I have for right now. The big, hairy, audacious, that's where I'm going towards. So my businesses and everything that I'm creating at this point is going towards that goal. Um, Now we talk about individual business goals. Okay, I have individual business goals. We call them KPIs. You call them SMART goals. They're quarterly goals, they're yearly goals, they're financial goals, they're, how many owners do we want to serve? How many investors? All of that. That all gets wrapped into this big, hairy, audacious goal.
I love this because you are a big thinker. You're a dream big. I asked you for one tip, you gave me three. I asked you for
Sorry.
your business vision, you gave me your life vision. And this I love because it is so inspiring and important that you know, you are all of you listening, you can go ahead and cast a wide net out there to the gigantic big future of your life, to the point of even your legacy. Do not think small, dream small. Think about all of the pieces. What is the biggest overarching desire, dream, mission that you have? And then work it backwards, basically work it down. What will it take? How do you want to do that? And then start where you have your yearly to your monthly to your weekly to your daily, almost hourly goals. Now that doesn't mean you have to be like so formatted that you don't find the freedom, but have a big vision and believe. Here's what I always say: if it is in your heart, it is possible and it is meant for you. It is just a matter of figuring it out, then figuring it out. Get together with people who have done it before. Learn. Oh, like you said, learn. There's always ways to learn. And learning is one of the easiest and most exciting ways to stay so youthful in yourself, too. Like learning is exciting, energizing. It creates confidence as soon as you learn something new. So anyway, I love this because I love big dreams that have a beautiful legacy attached to them, because then it's so much more than just our personal selves, which is great. But if we have a mission beyond that, it will always pull us forward. This is like one of the things I used to say. If you are nervous to get in front of the camera and share your work and how you can help people, I always sort of say you have to get out of your own way, because you are blocking your gifts that can help somebody, and you have a responsibility to help somebody else. It's not about you. So get out of the way and stop. It's normal for us to be nervous, to maybe be a little bit like, oh, how will I sound? How will I look? Will I make a fool out of myself? No, when your message is so important that it needs to be shared. And yeah, that's one of the things, again, like legacy, showing up because you want to serve others. You'll naturally be served. Your own needs will be met when you're on the right path and doing the right thing. But knowing that you have a bigger mission, right? It's like that's your caffeine, basically. That is your natural energy when it's not about you. It's about somebody else, helping somebody else. And what a beautiful, beautiful mission you are on, and what you and your husband are doing. It's just beautiful. So I love that. Oh my goodness. Dream big, beautiful women out there. So go
Yeah,
ahead. What were
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And be open to the universe, because you don't have to have everything planned out. I don't have everything planned out. I my big, hairy, audacious goal is written on a whiteboard along
Yeah.
with other hairy, audacious goals. I know that I will get there. I know that it will happen. How it happens, I do not know. You know, it could be a meeting 3 years from now. It could meeting the right person that puts the right things in place. It could be, the start of this book and the resiliency blueprint um, inspires someone to buy the land. I don't know. I don't need to know. I just know that
Yes.
it will happen.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
and
Forget
one of
about
the
the
things that I
how, right?
Right. It's I just
Mhm.
know that it'll happen.
Yeah.
And a few of the things that I do every day is I have affirmations. I will go through my affirmations, and those they're simple habits that I do every day, um, that keep me grounded and knowing that the universe is providing.
Love that. That's actually one of my questions that I typically ask women on my interviews with them. Is I always say, do you have like I call them wealthy woman habits. What do you have to do every single day for you to feel like, okay, I am powered up and I can take on this day? So, with your affirmations, what else are some of the things that you do for it could be a morning routine, it could be an evening routine, but some of the things that if you don't do it, you feel a little off, like you feel like, I really miss not doing this today. Like,
So there are a few things, and some of them are weekly, and some of them are, daily. So it's the affirmations. Um, the other is a gratitude journal. So I'll write down three things that I'm grateful for
mhm.
every day or every couple days. As I sit down and I'm like, okay, it could be in the beginning when I first started this years and years ago. It was the fact that, my feet hit the floor. It was the fact that I slept in a bed. It was the fact that the sun was shining. Like it was so little because I was like, I have nothing else to be grateful for. At least I thought. Now I sit down and I'm like, okay. Now I'm like, all right, this happened, this happened, this happened. And you know what? I am so grateful for these people, for this, for that. So it has evolved as our life evolves. So I found this really amazing app, and I'm not endorsing, I don't get money for anything. It's called Pep Talk on am, the App Store. And
Apple.
I think it's like 30 or 40 bucks a year. I don't remember what it is. And you can go on there, and there's pep talks of get your ass out of bed. And there's pep talks of this is how you set boundaries and you're great setting boundaries. And this is why you set boundaries. And there's a whole gamut of, what you want to choose from. And then a couple times a week, I will put on um, my headphones before I go to bed, and I fall asleep to Binomial Beats, or I fall asleep to the Secret, Rhonda Berwin's, I
Burn.
think that's her
Mhm.
last name,
Fun to
Byron's,
burn. Yeah.
The Secret meditation. So, I'm constantly surrounding myself with things that are going to continue to move me forward and keep me in that mindset.
I love this, and it's not to be undervalued. All of these little things that we think, I'll get to it, they're so important. I know, like, for example, if I am one of the things I do, if I'm just having a day where I just feel off, I cannot get my energy, or if my mood's a little funky for whatever reason, one of the quickest ways that I get into a power place where my power energy comes back is I just make sure the house is really tidy. I mean, I do that anyway, but I mean, I do it right in that moment. Get the shower in, the whole nine, the tidying up. Tidy up is one of the quickest ways for me anyway that give me a sense of that accomplishment, check it off my list kind of thing. And then also, like you're saying, I definitely focus in on, um, you know, whether it's video trainings or things, most of it like manifesting, affirmations, you know, spiritual connection type of things that bring me into that power again, because we all have those days. And then, another great advice is sometimes we all in our own businesses, we can feel like this is my everything business, and then we can have a day where we feel like, does this even make sense? Or maybe some client gave you a little bit of a hard time and it hurt your heart or whatever, and you're just feeling a little bit down and you start to question, what you're doing. I always like to say now, go back to video testimonials people left you or written testimonials and think about, wow, you're really helping that person. You have helped, you have changed that person's life. You have see the results that you've given them. And it'll start to put you back on that positive energy track because it is okay and it is normal to go up and down. We're like, our emotions should be equivalent to like the stock market. It's going to go up and down and it's going to crash sometimes, but just have faith in the long term to keep going forward and focusing on the growth and value, right, of what you're doing. Any other thoughts on
Absolutely.
that? Yeah. Any other thoughts on like when people are, you know, I think all women have the moment where they feel like they're 100% on purpose. They know everything they're doing is what they want to do for the rest of their lives, but then a bad day comes or a bad moment comes or something shakes them off. Or how what's good advice that you could give them to kind of feel the feelings but then get back on the horse, so to speak?
So I will say that healing is not linear. Healing is going to have your ups and downs, and life in general is ups and downs because listen, when you're feeling in the flow and that flow state that you're talking about where, I can take on the world and my business is doing amazing. How are you going to feel that flow state if you don't feel the low? How do you
Mm,
know that you're in that flow state if you don't feel, the sting? And the sting isn't hard. It's all growth.
yeah.
It's not, we say this, oh, failure. Oh, you failed. Have you really failed or have you learned? Because if you've failed and you've learned from it and you've moved forward, that's not failure. That's a learning opportunity, which then possibly could have skyrocketed your business.
Mm,
Um, I will go real quick. One of the reasons why I have a property management company is because when I was building real estate, I hired out a property management company, and unfortunately, their values did not align with mine anymore, to the tune of $20,000 in lawyers' fees to extricate all of my businesses and properties out from underneath of them. And, I sat on the couch for about 3 days. I could not move. I literally could not move. I was so stuck and I was so like I don't know what to do. I was crying. I mean just nasty. Like I don't do that crap. Just
yeah.
and it was nasty. And my husband said at the time, "You are the strongest person I know. Do not let them live rent free in your head. What are you going to do? Get your ass up." Well, okay, not in so many words. He was very kind, much kinder. And I went, "Oh, okay. Well, this is what I'm going to do, and this is what I'm going to do." And he goes, "All right, so why aren't you doing it?" So I did. I created my own property management company, and I went, "Yep, this is how I'm going to do it." And I made the steps. I'm a list person, so I listed out the steps that I was going to take, and I took action. And that action has now brought me to this amazing building that we're in now. And I manage for other investors who hold the same values that I hold. So um, it's not, sometimes your worst days can be your greatest teachers. Give
Mm.
yourself the grace. You are allowed to lay on the couch for a day. You are allowed to feel like crap for all of 3 seconds. Okay, I say 3 seconds, maybe 5 seconds. Okay, you're allowed to feel those feelings. We are allowed. Allow yourself that. And then say, okay, I've done that. Now, what am I going to do with these feelings? How am I going to move forward?
And that probably helped you a lot without focusing on, let's say, the word that comes to mind is maybe you had resentment because this company did wrong by you and you lost money because you had to, or I should quote, lost money because you had to hire a lawyer team. And How did you not like go back to, even though it worked out because now it pushed you forward to create something better, like this building, your own management company?
Mhm.
But did you ever still, even with the success that came later, did it ever still trickle in your mind like, oh, I lost that money or I made this bad decision, or you stayed stuck in some of that irritation? Did it show up again once that new success came that would not have come if it wasn't for that negative experience? So, you know, were you able to completely flip that negative feeling of anger, sadness, resentment into, okay, good, I'm so glad it happened, because if it didn't, then this wouldn't have been able to come to fruition?
I will say many years later,
Yeah.
they were still trying to do legal action about 2 years after everything happened. So I was fighting them for about 2 years. And throughout that 2 years, I was pretty bitter,
Yeah.
really, really frustrated, even though all of this good stuff was happening.
Yeah.
Because you go back, I personally went back to the whole victim mentality of
Yeah.
why is this happening? Why did it happen to me? Oh, I should have seen this red flag sooner. I should have done this
Yeah.
better.
Mhm.
And I just had to come to the realization of, again, I only knew what I knew.
Yeah.
I didn't see the red flags because I didn't know to see the red flags.
Right.
Now I
Exactly.
know,
Yeah.
you know, there's a reason that this happened. And, it's many years later at this point. And, now I'm actually grateful to them. They will never
Yeah.
step foot in any of my properties. I will never do business with them again. I will, what distance ourselves, obviously.
Yeah.
And
Boundaries.
yet there's a part of me that is grateful that they put me through what they did,
Mhm.
because now what I have.
And the reason that I bring this up is I really think that it has to be something that every single woman or human goes through, because you don't go through this world without having something come back and hit you that wasn't fair. Absolutely wasn't fair. And what do you do with that then? What do you do with that then? And I like your answer very much because it shows the humanness that even though that negative situation turned positive, there's still a little ick feeling, and that's okay. It's still human. The thing is, you did find the lesson, trust the process, the guidance, and move it forward to a power position. And so the reason I bring this up is because I can think of three separate things in my head right now where I kind of, can feel that. Why didn't I see it? Why didn't I set better boundaries? I lost this. And even though good things came to me later that could not have, if it would have worked out in that situation, wouldn't have been possible. That it again becomes a trust factor in the abundance of life, in the trusting, that just in the overflow. And you have to put your focus on that. And also you can forgive yourself if you have a moment where you're in the negative energy, but then, get out of it, try and get out of it. I'm glad we touched on this a little bit more, because especially for the type of work that you're doing, because that resilience comes from after going through something, right? Or so there's that thing that all the people that you're helping have gone through, whatever that might be. And yes, the resilience, get to the other side of it, but that still doesn't mean it completely disappears. And I think that we have to be okay with that. It's like, as long as we're moving forward and going forward. And yeah, I love this conversation because it's so human, it's so real, it's so relatable. The subject matter of what you might have gone through and what someone else might go through or has gone through, it's it is neither here nor there, because it's all foundational, what you're saying on how to build through that, to grow forward from that, to find the power. And your supportive community, right? Like, look at your
Hmm.
husband. He allowed you your feelings, but only for a little bit. And then it's like, okay, let's make this a positive, even though it
Right.
maybe could be, you know, considered a negative. Let's turn it. And that's where your power comes in. That's empowerment. And it shows up in the smallest little details to the biggest things. And you just really have to. Then one last question. I didn't even really need to go through all these questions because we are just having the heart to heart, and this is so good. So talk to me a little bit about intuition and trusting it and following it, especially when it's pulling you forward into a better scenario. How do you pay attention to yourself? How do you really hear yourself?
So, trusting my intuition has in the past been very hard. Again, because you have all those I had in the past, all those negative influences and the people around me that were negative, saying that I didn't know what I was saying was true, and what they said, and their beliefs, and just really cut my self-confidence and my self-worth down to a little nub. So even trusting in myself and my own who I was, that was very foreign. Now what I've done is I actually ask myself, I'm laying in bed, lights are off, and I will say, okay, this is the situation. And then I just kind of go quiet. And I'm like, I'll start thinking, your conscious mind will think of all this stuff. And then once you kind of, I guess you would call it meditation. I do meditation through the Calm app and other things, but this is something that I've just like, all right, like you're half in, half out of it, almost asleep. And then you get that feeling, or you get that one thought pops in your head. And whether you write it down or whether you remember it the next morning, and then that's, for me, it's a little persistent. Oh, I'll like call your grandfather, call your grandfather, call your grandfather, like over like 3 days, call your grandfather. And then I'll finally call my grandfather, which I should have done 3 days ago. um and just to reconnect. So it's constantly, it's that still small voice. It doesn't have to hit you over the head, but you know what, things will hit you over the head if you don't listen. So I just want to, I know we're getting close to the end, and I just want to share this with you that I feel that radical resilience, or, the resilience that you have, it's not doing it all on your own. It's refusing to give up on yourself.
Mm.
So, you can rewrite your story at any time. Your thoughts can rewrite it. Every day you can get up and rewrite your story if you don't like what happened the day before. So you have your own voice. You have other women and communities that's cheering you on. You're breaking the mold and you're stepping into something new because you get to redefine what success, love, safety, and strength is on your own terms. So, that's in a nutshell what women who read the book, who go through my coaching program, who hear this podcast, um, what I would want to leave them with. That it is
I
100% up to you, and you can do this, and you are loved, you are safe, and you are heard.
oh, I love so much everything. I love this interview. It is so important. And also, every single day, you can start again. You can start
Yes.
again. You don't have to think about yesterday and how it didn't go as hopefully as all planned as you had hoped. And you're noticing how you maybe didn't achieve all the things you desired to achieve. There's always a new day, and you can always start again, and you can recreate and go forward and get that help. Listen to your voice, give yourself quiet time so you can hear yourself. This is amazing. You are amazing. You are such a strong woman. You are such an amazing powerhouse, empowered, resilient, and helpful, inspiring woman. And I'm so thankful for all that you are doing in the world. You alone, you and your husband, you and your community, you are really creating movements, and they're very important ones. And you have a lot to be proud of. And I am so thankful that I got to have this beautiful time with you and share this beautiful success story interview. I can't wait to get it out there. So before we sign off, go ahead, your name, your website, where they can reach you, and we'll finish with that.
So my name is Michelle Rogers, and the website is theresiliencyblueprint.com.
Thank you so much for being a light in this.
Thank you.
Thank you. This was amazing. Okay. Well, did I not tell you how powerful this interview would be? I want you to listen to this as many times as you need to be inspired, be hopeful, be strong, set your boundaries, set your dreams in motion, believe in yourself, surround yourself with positive energy. The littlest things that make you feel joy or accomplished or a little bit of confidence, it all adds up. Stay in that good vibe energy, really, and good things will start to unfold for you. So, thank you so much for being here, Coach Tamara from Wealthy Woman Every Day. Until next time, bye for now. Don't forget, keep moving forward.
Bye.